So I make an update video on the Suburban, see where we're at. The engine, of course, the last video I made, you saw the engine and stuff was in. Just tidying up some of the little details like the fuel system and getting the cooling system for the transmission all hooked up. Right now, there's two more things I need to do before I can fire this thing up. I need to pull the transmission pan back off and weld in a pipe threaded bung. He said bung. A pipe threaded bung so I can hook up my temperature gauge, and I'll show that, but I haven't gotten around to taking it off yet. Right now I'm working on the exhaust system, and I need to make a tie-in pipe to go from the collectors on the header to the exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe's probably 5-6 inches taller or higher up in the chassis than the header flange. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. These are 3-inch collectors. They came with the headers. I think they came with the headers. And I just had, when I was on the test stand, I had my nose is running, that's why I keep moving. But when I had this engine on the test stand, I just had a 3-inch. Basically, it was a U-bend that I cut in half and made a couple turn downs, and that's what I had on my test stand. Well, the exhaust system on this truck is 2 1/4, I think, 2 1/4 duals, which is more than enough for what this engine makes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put different collectors on it. Now, I mentioned in a previous video that I was thinking about doing a ball and socket type collector. Let me show you what that looks like if you're not familiar with. And this is a ball and socket type collector. You notice you got a ball and a socket. The advantage to using this kind of a header connection is that there's no exhaust gasket needed at all. And you don't have to be perfectly aligned. You can be out of alignment by quite a bit, and the exhaust system it'll still seal. This, you'd cut the end off, the flange off your header collector, and you'd weld this. See, I can't even talk. You'd weld this onto your header, and then this would go on your exhaust pipe. Well, I'm not going to do that, simply because I don't want to take these headers back off. So, oh, and by the way, you can get those at like Summit or Jegs. I think they're around, I don't know, $50 or something like that. I mean, they ain't that much. But I'm going to use, these are just cheap 3-flange header collectors. Now, I was looking at this, and I just took them out of the box. I think I paid $15 for these or whatever. And I just took this off the truck. Now, the difference between these two is, you notice that this flange is, I don't know if you can see that, but this flange is welded to this collector, or this, it's not a collector, what is it? Anyway, this pipe is not like this, okay? And if you notice that the gasket, I mean, the gasket's still on here, and it's sealed on there good. And, I mean, this didn't really see any use other than that I can remember. You know, I don't remember if I had this collector on the header when it was in the other truck. It may have been, but you know, this gasket's in pretty good shape, and this never happens, especially with these. And here's one of the problems with this style. If you notice, it doesn't fit flush. You know, the exhaust pipe part doesn't fit flush on the flange, so the only sealing area is this edge of the exhaust pipe part of it, right? And you start drawing this down, and you got a big gap, and you end up deforming this flange, and you know this will not seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one, I'm going to bolt them together, and I'm going to cut this flange off, and I'm going to bolt these together so I don't get any kind of heat distortion when I weld, and I'm going to weld them together. I'm going to weld this pipe to the flange and eliminate this so I can get more contact area for the gasket. Does that make sense? And then I got a couple of U-bends I can make the kick up to tie into the exhaust system. So it's probably going to take about 4 hours worth of video, or I got 3 hours and 20 minutes worth of memory card. I'll probably use it all up and edit it all out and have 5 minutes of video. So that's what I'm going to work on while the kids are napping. But I have to get this thing. I have to get this thing running by the weekend because my oldest son is going to preschool. His first day of preschool on Tuesday. Kid's growing up fast, man. So I need to have another vehicle on the road because when the wife is over in Vegas, 70 miles away, I need to be able to pick this kid up. Hey, the state won't let me throw the twins in the back of my other pickup truck. Otherwise, I'd just use the other pickup truck. So I need to have another mode of transportation. So I need to get this thing on the road. I need to get on the road anyway. So I'm going to work on this, and we'll keep you updated. See you in a bit. Okay. We started with this, and I just simply took this, set it on the bench. I took this flange, this flared end, and went on the bench grinder, and I ground that off. And I ground it off so that it was just a smidgen bigger, a smidgen bigger. What did I just do with the flange? Than the flange. It's right here in my hand. It was just a little bit bigger than the flange. So it was a friction fit. I actually had to put it on the bench. Let me show you. See how that is? I had to put it on the bench and slide the flange over it, take a couple of vice grips on either side, clamp it down, and beat it on with a hammer so that it's friction fit in there. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bolt it to that. You see how that's exactly how it's going to look like on the header. See, that's nice and flat, so that flange is going to stay flat on the gasket, and hopefully it won't leak, because these are notorious for leaking. This one hasn't. I mean, look, you can see where it got a little hot spot right there, but it never burnt through. So we'll bolt these together and snug them down so that when I do weld them together, they don't, it doesn't deform. And I'll just use this existing one as a kind of a template to hold it in place. We'll see how this works. Back in a minute. Now I'll take the bolts off and weld where the bolts were.
See you in a minute.